Let us be very quiet for a moment and let us enter an atmosphere where no one is being measured, no one is being weighed, no one is being judged. We can live a long time in an atmosphere of meditation and still keep our feet on the ground. Why should we keep our feet on the ground? Because the word must become flesh. If all we have is a beautiful mist of ideas, a lovely cloud of spirituality, and it does not feed the child at the table, does not soften the hard word between coworkers, does not dissolve the fear in a courtroom or a kitchen, we have not yet touched the presence that governs the word. If it is the word, becomes flesh, it translates into appointments kept and tempers cooled and bills paid and health renewed. It shows up, and so it is. Now here is a contrarian word to begin with, a word you may not at first welcome, and that is all right because none of us welcomed it the first time. Stop praying for payback. Withdraw from revenge thinking. Even the pious kind that dresses itself in scripture and asks for a holy thunderbolt. Have you ever said within yourself, God, make them see what they did. Let them feel what I felt. I know that prayer. Everyone who has had a human heartbeat knows it. But that prayer is a closed circuit. It shuts the valve through which life flows. Vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord. That was not given to make God a better punisher than man. It was given to release you from the seat of the judge so that the presence may sit there. And when presence occupies that seat, there is no punishment. There is order. There is protection. There is the straightening of that which is crooked, and so it is. You may say, but if I don't pray for payback, won't I be walked on? Won't evil go unchecked? In what sense is that a danger? In the sense that we have trusted punishment to be the guardian of life. We have thought that the good would be established by inflicting the right measure of pain on the offender. But there is neither good nor evil in that sense. The good is not in the act of hitting back, nor is the evil removed by suffering. The good is invisible. The good is the presence. When you ask for payback, you place value in the appearance and you disregard the invisible source. When you withdraw judgment, you return value to the source and you open the channel by which the word steps into your street, your office, your home. Do not misunderstand me. I am not inviting you to be naive. I am not saying we pretend that lies are truth or that theft is generosity. I am saying that human payback is punishment and therefore keeps the drama on the human stage. Spiritual governance is protection, and therefore lifts the scene under an order not of our devising. I can of mine own self do nothing, said the Master. That was not a disclaimer of strength, it was a disclosure of method. If the Master would not run the universe on his own steam, why should we attempt to run our small corner by the energies of anger, fear, and righteous indignation? Be still and know that I am God. This is the invitation to withdraw from revenge prayer and to yield the ground to presence. And yes, we keep our feet on the ground. We're not off in a cave somewhere while we have this talk. We are in the marketplace of human events. There is a neighbor who throws trash on your lawn, a partner who breaks a contract, a supervisor who misrepresents your work, a teenager who comes home at 3 a.m, a driver who cuts you off and swears at you, a clerk who shortchanges you, a judge who seems not to hear your side. These are not unreal shadows. They are the plays of a world that believes in cause and effect on the plane of appearances. Now, we can meet that on its own level and secure a short-term satisfaction. And perhaps sometimes we must write a letter, make a call, take a step. But first, let us enter the silence that is not passive, and let the presence go before us. It is written, the Lord, he it is that doth go before thee. Fear not. It is written again, I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. Whether you attribute that to angels, to grace, to Christ within, it is one and the same truth. There is a principle of inner government. It is not a theory. It must become flesh. If it does not alter the next conversation, if it does not adjust the timing of your arriving and the tone of their speaking, then it remains an uncashed check in the pocket of theology. We do not want that. We want cash in hand, by which I do not mean money only. I mean the currency of lived harmony. So I say to you boldly and gently, withdraw your hands from the levers of revenge. When the mind reaches to pull those levers, stop short and do not pull. That is not passivity. That is fidelity. For there you are saying, Father, into thy hands I commend this spirit. You are saying, let the same mind be in me, which was also in Christ Jesus. You are stepping out of the robe of executioner and into the robe of witness. The witness says, I bear witness to the presence, not to the crime. And the presence acts. How? In ways that the human mind does not foresee. It acts by quieting an inflamed memory, by softening a hard face, by guiding your feet to a different door, by parking your car 2 minutes later than your habit so that you miss an entanglement, by giving you a word to speak that was not in your vocabulary yesterday. This is the word becoming flesh. We will later name a crooked place we all recognize, and we will watch together how a simple turn within pause, no magic, no mental pushing, simply a yielding altered the contour of events until what looked like an inevitable clash found itself without fuel. I tell you that in advance so that you may locate hope not in my story, but in the Lord exemplifies. This is not a special case. It is the ordinary operation of grace when the channel is not clogged by the demand for payback. Some will say, isn't justice necessary? Indeed, justice is necessary, but justice in spirit is order, not retribution. Justice is the boundary set by love that protects all, not the lash that satisfies anger. Neither do I condemn thee, said the Master, and yet he also said, go and sin no more. Notice the order. First release, then correction. That is governance. That is protection. That is the path by which the word release and guidance becomes flesh-transformed behavior and right relations. Let us then begin here, in this room, in this breath. Let us relax the fist inside the prayer. If there is a name on your tongue with a demand attached to it, let them learn, let them hurt as I have hurt. Set it down. In its place, let there be a simple word, Father. That is all. Father. Not, Father, do thus and so, but simply, Father. And then a knowing without words. Thy presence goes before me. As we practice that, we will discover that revenge prayer closes the channel and presence practice opens it. We will discover that the invisible good, which never left us, begins to translate into visible harmony. And we will keep our feet on the ground, because the next phone call, the next meeting, the next step will carry the proof that God governs, and therefore, in our affairs, the word has begun to become flesh. Let us look quietly at what justice is in spirit and why we are asked to remove our hands from the scales. At first, it sounds strange. Why not weigh? Why not measure? Why not decide who is right and who is wrong? Because the moment you and I start attaching moral labels to appearances, we close the channel through which reality reveals itself. In spirit, there is neither good nor evil. The good is invisible to human sense. It is not in the form, not in the event, not in the person. Why callest thou me good, said the Master. None is good save one, that is God. If even he would not let goodness be lodged in his human appearance, can we safely put goodness or badness into the passing forms of our day? We cannot. The good is invisible. The good is the presence. What then is justice? Not the repayment of injury with injury, not the evening out of the books by human arithmetic. Justice in spirit is order revealing itself, right relationship, right place, right timing, without the strain of our judgments and without the heat of our emotions. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. How do we judge righteously? By withdrawing judgment from the scene, so that within ourselves we acknowledge one reality, one presence, one law. Then the scene reorganizes under that law. Righteous judgment is not a human verdict. It is the recognition that good is invisible, and that when we rest in that invisible good, forms line up according to it. Try this with the very things that seem to carry weight for you. A prophet is neither good nor evil. A promotion is neither good nor evil. A beautiful object is neither good nor evil. In what sense are they not good? In the sense that the good is not embodied in them. Attach your sense of good to a prophet, and you will become enslaved to protecting it and anxious at the hint of a loss. Call a promotion your blessing, and you will dread the day a new opportunity passes by. Idolize a beautiful object, and you will suffer over scratches and thieves and weather, but know the good as invisible. Presents and profits can come and go. Promotions can lift or not lift. Objects can age or be misplaced, and you remain centered in the source from which infinite forms may be drawn. That is justice. It is order without bondage. This may be easier to feel with simple illustrations. You see a vase of exquisite craftsmanship, colored with such harmony that you cannot help but smile. Is the good in the glaze? Is the good in the shape? For a moment you may say, "Oh, how good," but watch how quickly that good becomes fear of breakage. The good is not there. The good is in the invisible love, intelligence, and life that move through the hands, that move through the clay, that move through you as delight. The form is an occasion for the good to be felt, not the location of the good. So it is with a balance sheet. So it is with a title on a door. So it is with a verdict written in a courthouse. They are neither good nor evil. They are occasions for order to appear when our valuation is correct, not in the thing, but in the presence. When we think of justice as payback, we inevitably set up an adversarial universe. Someone must lose so that we may feel at peace. But peace founded on another's loss is no peace at all. It is tension waiting for its season. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Overcome appearances not by fighting them, but by withdrawing their labels and letting the good, unseen, unmanipulated, be the only valuation in your heart. Then watch the odd alchemy that takes place. What seemed crooked begins to straighten, not by your cleverness, but by the nature of an unopposed law. You say, "But if I do not call this good, how do I give thanks?" Very simply, give thanks not for the shape of the cup, but for the water of life that fills every cup that comes from the source. Give thanks for the presence that feeds, not for the loaf that can grow stale. For the wisdom that places you, not for the promotion that can be taken away. Then should the loaf be lost, another appears. Should the position change, another room opens. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Righteousness is right order. Seek order at the level of invisible good, and the visible arranges itself without strain. And see what happens to your sense of justice when you stop pronouncing sentences on appearances. The mind grows quiet. The heat cools. You begin to feel, not think, a current that says, here is the way, walk ye in it. A letter you dreaded to write composes itself with fairness you could not have manufactured. A conversation you wanted to load with accusation turns into simple clarity. A profit that looked like advantage at another's expense reveals a better way of trading so that both flourish. This is not fantasy. This is the word becoming flesh when the word, your valuation, rests in the invisible. Please do not imagine that I am speaking of two different worlds, one called spiritual, the other called material. I am not. I'm speaking of two different concepts of the same universe. In one concept, good and evil are parceled out among things and people, and we run breathless from one label to the next. In the other, good is God, invisible, indivisible, omnipresent, and the world of forms is simply the field where that indivisible good shows itself as order. The first concept demands payback. The second reveals balance. This has a promise attached, and it is a practical one. When you locate your good in the invisible source, the forms of your life begin to align without your pushing. Fruitage appears where you had no tree planted. Guidance comes where you had no map drawn. Provision arrives through avenues you did not even know existed. And because you have not put your heart into the forms themselves, you are not terrified when they change. You are not devastated when they are refused you. You are not arrogant when they are given. You are steady because your treasure is where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal the invisible. Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Hear that not as a threat, but as a release. Repayment, adjustment, balance, these belong to the law of being, not to our emotions. Our part is to stop the mental accounting, stop the moral tagging, and abide in the presence as our good. Then justice appears as order, not as someone else's suffering, but as a wisdom that places, corrects, provides, and sometimes closes a door so that another may open. Judge not the door. Value the doorkeeper, and the doors will take care of themselves. Now, what do we mean very practically when we say, thy presence goes before me? We are not uttering a poetry line to quiet our nerves. We are describing a law of being. I can of mine own self do nothing, said the Master. Why? Because there is an order that precedes action, an inner government that must be acknowledged before any outer harmony can show its face. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. That is not a religious flourish. That is engineering. The path is directed when the presence is first. The path is confused when the self is first. So the practice is simple. Before you speak, before you send, before you step, turn within and let the presence go before you. And then the steps that remain are yours to take. But now they are taken under guidance and not under guesswork. The old language for this inner government is angels. He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. We can, if we like, imagine wings, but let us go deeper than imagination to function. In what sense are angels given charge? In the sense that awakened consciousness operates. Guidance is an angel, timing is an angel, restraint is an angel, protection is an angel, courage at the right moment is an angel. A change route is an angel. A word not said is an angel. These are not visitors from another planet. These are the operations of consciousness when it is not clogged with judgment, fear, or revenge. When we withdraw the human agenda and yield the helm to presence, consciousness unfolds its own capacities. And these capacities go before us into rooms, into emails, into courthouses, into kitchens, into intersections, and there they begin to make the crooked places straight. Someone will say, are you speaking of two worlds, then ours and some airy spiritual one? No, not at all. I am not speaking of two different worlds, but of two different concepts of the same universe. The same floor under your feet, the same calendar on your wall, the same faces across your desk, and yet seen under two different lights. Under the human light, action leads and prayer follows to clean up. Under the light of spirit, awareness leads and action follows to embody in the scene. We see schedules, and someone seems to cancel on us at the last minute. In the unseen, we find that a canceling spared us an entanglement or opened a quiet hour in which an idea came that fed our family for a year. The visible and the invisible are not at war. They are cooperative when the invisible is first. Not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Might and power strain the muscles of human planning. Spirit moves the hinge on which the door swings, and the same door that would not yield yesterday opens with no effort today. And so it is. I would not ask you to adopt this on the say-so of a speaker. We are not trading in mental optimism. We are not drumming up a positive attitude to check the box called faith. We are inviting you into experience. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Test this. Stop short the next time the email forms in your throat as a sentence. Turn within even for 5 seconds, 5 honest seconds in which you say nothing to God and simply become still. In that pause, something lawful occurs. You might find that the sentence you were about to send evaporates, and in its place there is either a silence or a new line that has mercy without weakness in it. Or you might discover that the timing is changed. The person you needed to reach who never answers at 4 p.m. calls you at 4:05. You did not move a piece on the human board. You withdrew your hand long enough for the inner governance to move what was already in motion. Let me put this into ordinary shoes so you can see how angels function without wings. You are on the way to a meeting that you have dreaded because the last one ended in accusation. The human plan is to rehearse your defense. The presence plan is to stop the rehearsal. You pause. Father, you don't add anything because nothing needs to be added to God. You rest 2 breaths. An inner nudge comes. Arrive 5 minutes early and sit in the lobby. That is timing. An angel. You arrive early, and who should be there but the other party, alone and without their usual chorus. An opening occurs for a casual remark about their child's recital. That is guidance. An angel. A softness enters the tone of the entire meeting. The issues are not brushed aside. They are finally addressed without heat. That is protection, an angel. Or again, you receive a late-night text that would normally provoke an instantaneous reply. The habit of the man of flesh is to fire. The habit of the child of God is to be still. You are still. A line from scripture rises unforced. Peace, be still. That is restraint, an angel. You sleep. In the morning, a new set of facts has emerged. The original accusation was based on a misunderstanding. Your silence protected you more effectively than your cleverness could have. And this is not theory. This is experience. But do we abandon responsibility? No. We fulfill it at a higher level. The presence that goes before you does not remove your feet from the ground. It places them. It doesn't turn you into a cloud. It turns your yes into yes and your no into no, with an authority not born of anger. Sometimes the angel will say, speak now, and a sentence you never thought of will come, and it will be clean and exact. Sometimes the angel will say, do not go, and you will not. And later you will find that a needless battle played itself out without you. Sometimes the angel will say, change attorneys, or bring a witness, or return the item, or apologize. And you will notice that so-called enemies relax into human beings again. This is inner governance preceding outer harmony. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. The adding is the outer order. The seeking is not grasping with the hands. It is yielding with the heart. Always we come back to the same threshold. I, my own self, can do nothing. That is not defeatism. That is door opening. That is the sentence whereby you resign with relief from management by worry and take your seat among those who are led. And in being led, you find, strangely, that your life becomes more precise, your actions more efficient, your words fewer and truer. You rely less on the system of pushing and pulling and more on the quiet power that arranges people and moments without violating anyone. The steps of a man are ordered by the Lord, said the psalmist. Ordered, not coerced, not punished into place, ordered. And so we trust the order, and we prove the order. And as we prove it, the crookedness that seemed fixed begins to yield as naturally as snow yields under the midday sun. This, then, is the heart of it. Let the presence go before you and do the works. Not that you will do nothing, but that you will do only what is yours to do. And you will do it in the right hour, with the right word, toward the right end. Then you will discover that angels are not a Sunday school picture, but a weekday fact. And that your life, without fanfare, without drama, is being brought under a government wise enough to straighten and gentle enough to bless. And the word will begin in the most ordinary places to become flesh. Let us be very plain now and name a crooked place we all recognize, and we will name it without heat, for the naming is not the condemning, the naming is the opening. You come into the office on a Tuesday morning. The weekend was barely enough to smooth out the last week's grind, but you are ready to begin. There is a meeting at 10, a deadline at 2, a child's recital at 6. You pour the coffee, you open the screen, and before the first sip cools, you notice something off, an email chain that you were not copied on, a line in a report that attributes an error to oversight in your area, a whisper that has already walked down the hall. A colleague you have worked alongside this person for months has, let us say, placed a shadow over your work. Something is not being said straight. Something is being arranged so that if the vase tips, it tips into your lap. At once, the inner weather shifts. You feel the quick tightening in the chest. You feel the heat rise in the face. The mind begins to compose. A sharp email forms itself in paragraphs. Oh, can't you feel how easily they come? with bullet points and timestamps and the precise sentence that will cut while sounding reasonable. The hand reaches for allies. Did you see what she wrote? Did you hear what he said? Texts go out. Side conversations begin to weave. And if you are pious, perhaps you add a prayer to the mix, but the prayer is a spear. God, expose this. Let the truth come out and let them be shown for what they are. I know that prayer. I have heard it from pulpits as easily as from cubicles. It seems righteous. It seems fair. What, then, is crooked here? Is it the person? In what sense could we safely say that? In the sense of appearance only. The crookedness we are naming is simpler and more accurate. Misrepresentation has taken a place and is wearing the robe of fact. Fear of loss has risen in you and in them and is dividing rather than uniting. Relationships are taut like wires, and under it all is the ancient belief that our welfare is secured by maneuver, by speed, by the number of voices we can gather to our side. That is crooked. Crooked is not a person. Crooked is an arrangement of thought and fear that bends straight things. Crooked is when truth is covered with a film of self-protection. Crooked is when we hurry to defend an identity that, in truth, does not belong to the realm of praise or blame. Hear me. To name it this way is not to excuse it. It is to refuse the first lie that the good or the evil is in the person or in the sentence or in the report. They are neither good nor evil. The good is invisible. The good is the presence. When we say this colleague is bad, this rumor is evil, we put the weight in the wrong place and the scale breaks. When we say, Father, thou art the only presence and the only power, we take the weight out of appearances and return it to the source, and the scale begins to right itself. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is the refusal to condemn and the willingness to see order, even where, to the human eye, disorder is shouting. You may be saying, but this is my job. This is my name, my review, my mortgage, my children's dinner. Yes, this is why we must keep our feet on the ground. The word must become flesh right here at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. We are not speaking of floating away into a safe idea world while reputations are damaged and contracts are rewritten. We are saying that the only way the word becomes flesh in this scene is if we refrain from making a god of the scene. If we let the presence go before us into this office, into this meeting, into this inbox, then we will watch how things straighten, and we will take the steps we are given to take letters, meetings, corrections, but they will be clean. They will not carry the poison of vengeance. Let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. Clean, simple, without heat. So here is the experiment, and it is a humble one. Do not send the sharp email yet. Do not rally the allies yet. Do not pray for exposure or humiliation at all. Set the device down. Put the hands in your lap for 1 minute or 5 or whatever it takes to feel the inner weather shift. Be still and know that I am God. Do not make speeches to God about what should happen. Let there be one word only, Father. Or if another line fits you, let it be this: the Lord, He it is that doth go before thee. Or this: commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass. He shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Not your cleverness as the light, not their shame as the noonday, Your righteousness, the rightness of being rightly placed in order, coming forth because you have refused to take the robe of the judge. Will this solve itself by magic? Not at all. It will solve itself by order. How will order come? I do not know the route in advance, and I will not pretend to. Sometimes it comes as a supervisor who, without your prompting, notices the thread that doesn't match and asks a fair question. Sometimes it comes as a coworker who, having heard the rumor, hears something else inside and withholds the forwarding of it. Sometimes it comes as a memory rising in you of one email you did send weeks ago that becomes the clean document you had forgotten. Sometimes it comes as new words in your own mouth when, at 3 p.m, you are invited to speak and you find that accusation is no longer in you, only clarity. This is not sentiment. This is the presence translating into timing, guidance, and provision, the word becoming flesh. You ask, what if nothing changes? Do I do nothing? You will do what is yours to do, but do it after you have withheld condemnation. Then write the clarifying note, but write it as witness, not prosecutor. Then ask for the meeting, but ask not to trap, to restore order. Then keep a record, but not as ammunition, as light. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. For if you run into that room with a hot tongue, you reverse the very law you seek to trust. Be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. Slow to wrath not because you are timid, but because wrath shuts the valve through which God's government enters. Hold this scene lightly now, without condemnation. See the crookedness as a temporary weave in the fabric, not as a character carved in stone. See your colleague as a person without qualities, not the mask they are wearing today, not the mask you are tempted to place on them. See yourself that way, too. Remove from both of you the labels that the morning tried to paste. Then say within, without argument and without emotion, thy presence goes before me, and keep your feet on the ground. There is a meeting at 10. You will go. There is an email to answer. You will answer. But something has already gone before you, and because you have named the crooked place without condemning the players, a straightening has permission to begin. In that permission is the seed of peace. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Not notice after they have been punished in their presence, because the table is presence itself. And where presence governs, enemies evaporate into neighbors, and rumors dissolve into right words at the right time. We will walk further with this, but for now, let us keep the experiment. Abstain from payback prayer and watch what God does with Tuesday. Now we come to the small hinge on which large doors swing. The protocol is not complicated, and it is not mystical in the sense of being rare or reserved for monks. It is as near as your next breath. When the sting rises, when the mind begins to draft speeches and the heart tightens, stop everything. That does not mean you run from the scene. It means you withdraw your hand from the levers of reaction and become still. Take no thought, said the master, not even a religious thought about the problem. For a few honest seconds, refuse to feed the argument. Refuse to engineer the outcome. Refuse to dress your anger in scripture. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. We are not ignoring facts. We are refusing to treat facts as gods. We are letting God be God. In that stillness, give your consent. This is the essential movement. It is not a technique. It is a surrender. Father, thou doest the works. Say it and mean it as best you can in that moment. I and the Father are one. Do not say it to force a change in someone else. Say it to remember identity, to recall who is actually present and operative here, and then say nothing more. Let the atmosphere within you be as you would have the room become free of labels, free of blame, free of urgency. Be still and know that I am God. In that knowing, angels' functions of consciousness begin their quiet work. You do not summon them. You stop blocking them. Guidance has room now. Timing has air. Restraint takes its rightful place as strength and not as fear. Protection establishes itself as order and not as punishment. The mind will protest, but if I don't think it through, if I don't plan my reply, if I don't rehearse the consequences, won't I be naive? Answer it gently. Judge not according to the appearance. We are not abandoning intelligence. We are removing heat from it so that it may see. Release outcome engineering. Release the clever sentence that proves your point. Release the courtroom in your head where you are both prosecutor and judge. Bring the persons involved into this stillness and behold them as neither good nor evil. This is the decisive disarmament. See the situation as neither good nor evil. See the man who wronged you as neither devil nor saint. See the woman who gossiped as neither serpent nor angel. See a person without qualities. The mask of personality, yours and theirs, falls away just enough for you to remember Christ as identity. Vengeance breathes the oxygen of labels. Cut off that oxygen, and the fire cannot feed. How long do you pause? Long enough to be honest. Sometimes 5 seconds are enough to melt the next hour. Sometimes you will sit for a minute or two until the churning quiets. Place no demand on the pause. Do not bargain with God. Simply consent. Thy will be done. Let the breath fall into a natural rhythm, and let the mind have nothing to do but rest in presence. If a thought insists, let it be a scripture that asks nothing. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Not wanting revenge, not wanting vindication. Wanting only the government of God to be felt here. In that relaxed wanting, if we may call it that, without contradiction, you will sense a turning of the tide you did not create. Suddenly the sentence you were about to send looks unnecessary. Suddenly the phone that felt heavy is light, or it is clear that it is not to be lifted at all. Suddenly an entirely different angle of approach comes simple, unspectacular, precise. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps. Let the director be the presence. What does the next word look like when it rises unforced? It is single. It is not a 12-point strategy. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, not a floodlight unto my career. The word to the feet is one step. It may be wait until morning. It may be write 3 lines, not 3 pages. It may be bring a witness or take a witness. It may be apologize for your tone, but stand by your boundary. It may be return the item that is not yours to keep. It may be ask a question instead of making an accusation. You will recognize it by its texture. It does not run on adrenaline. It does not depend on the other's humiliation. It does not require you to be a hero. It asks you to be true. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. The action that follows that quietness carries the authority of that confidence. There will be pauses in which no instruction seems to come. That too is instruction. Do nothing. Keep your peace. The battle is not yours, but God's. If silence is your assignment, it will keep you from entanglements you could not have foreseen. If speech is your assignment, it will be given you in that same hour what you shall speak. Sometimes the angel of timing is already at work moving another piece on a board you do not see. Your part is to refrain from jumping the gun. Do not break the stillness with a human plan to make sure God doesn't forget. God does not forget. The presence that goes before you is already arranging the hour and the word. Your refusal to arrange it in your head is your consent for that arranging to proceed. Now, let us put our feet on the ground with this. When you feel the heat, stop. If you are able, close your eyes. If not, let your gaze soften and drop inward. One name only, Father. No petitions, no explanations. One consent. Thou doest the works. Let images pass. If the face of your adversary arises, do not grant it horns or halos, neither good nor evil, person without qualities. If the scenery plays, do not sharpen it or dull it, neither good nor evil. If numbers, contracts, dates parade across the mind, do not bow to them, neither good nor evil. The good is invisible. Rest there. Then, when a word rises, take it. If none rises, keep the stillness as you re-enter the room. You will be astonished at how often the outer arrangement meets your inner consent halfway without your push. A messenger calls. A new fact surfaces. A door you had been battering opens of itself. Or, and this is justice in spirit, the door stays shut because it is not your door, and peace accompanies that closing as surely as it accompanies an opening. This is the protocol that disarms vengeance. It does not remove your spine. It removes your sword. It does not make you a doormat. It makes you a doorway through which order enters. The wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God, but the pause this simple, faithful pause makes room for righteousness, which is right order, to appear. And when right order appears, it is practical. It speaks in calendars and in conversations, in changed tones and in timely absences. Angels go before you because you did not run ahead. And you will find in the ordinary pathways of your day that the crookedness which seemed to demand your hammer is softening under a sun you did not light. That is how the word becomes flesh when the heart takes no thought and yields the lead to presence. Now we come to the delicate, liberating seeing that disarms vengeance at its root. Beholding a person without qualities. Persona means mask. In the theater, the mask tells the audience, here is the villain, here is the hero, here is the fool. But John Barrymore is not Hamlet, and Hamlet is not John Barrymore. So it is in the office, in the kitchen, on the street. Yesterday your colleague wore the mask of helper, today the mask of betrayer, tomorrow some other mask. If we fasten the mask to the face with our judgment, we imprison them inside it and ourselves with them. If we refuse to glue the mask down, we leave room for God to reveal the one behind it. Why callest thou me good? The master asked. None is good save one, that is, God. If he would not let good stick to his persona, dare we fix bad to another's? Let us release both poles, neither good nor evil in the person as person, neither saint nor scoundrel as identity. They are neither good nor evil. The good is invisible, and it constitutes being. I and my Father are one. All that the Father hath is mine. What if we took those lines, not as pious embroidery, but as the unveiling of true identity for them as for you? Not that you admire them into goodness, not that you excuse them into license, but that you quietly acknowledge God constitutes their being. The Christ is the life of this one. And then you stand back from the mask. Try to name what shifts in you when you do this. Heat cools, not because you have become indifferent, but because you have dropped the bellows that keep the fire of vengeance bright. Clarity rises, not because you now agree with dishonesty, but because you are no longer trying to drive nails into a moving target called their character. With the labels removed, you can see facts with greater simplicity. Let your communication be yay, yay, nay, nay. And notice, too, the absence of that particular fatigue that comes from moral bookkeeping. You are not managing their reform. You are recognizing their root. You are not trying to make them better. You are consenting to see them as they are in God. Henceforth know we no man after the flesh, said Paul. After the flesh, they may look like betrayer or benefactor. After the spirit, they are son, they are daughter. And that is the only place from which a change of conduct has a chance to be real. Someone may say, isn't this naive? Won't people take advantage? Not when the seeing is true. True seeing is never blind to facts. It is blind to condemnation. It does not make you a doormat. It frees your feet to stand where God places you. You will still say no when no is right. You will still keep a clean record. You will still call for correction when correction serves order. But you will not need them to suffer in order to feel safe. And because you do not need their suffering, you will be wiser, quicker, kinder, and this may surprise you, more effective. Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. What is that but the Christ refusing to fasten a mask and thereby giving a human being back to herself? Condemnation was removed, and conduct found a new line to walk. The word became flesh through a gaze that would not enthrone the mask. Try a simple inward practice the next time you meet the one who has hurt you. Before a word is spoken, let your eye rest softly, not to inspect, but to recognize, and within yourself say, without heat and without effort, Father, reveal thyself as this one. Or if another sentence serves, let it be Peter's, thou art the Christ. Not to flatter, not to manipulate, but to align your own seeing with reality. Do not adorn it with adjectives. Do not say, you are spiritual and perfect, for that only paints a brighter mask. Stop short and be still. 5 seconds. Then speak what is yours to speak, or be silent if silence is the cleanest word. Watch what happens when your presence, unburdened by the need to judge, enters a room. People breathe. Words lose their sting. A defensiveness you expected does not appear. Or perhaps it does appear, but you are not hooked by it, and because you are not hooked, the scene cannot escalate. This is not hypnosis. This is the absence of vengeance creating space for order. List the labels you have been tempted to paste and, just for an experiment, lay them down. Betrayer, liar, manipulator, saint, genius, fool. Put them all on the table. Look at them. See how the heart tightens around each one, even the good ones, because every label demands maintenance. Now turn within and let there be one recognition only. God constitutes your being. If you cannot yet say it about them, say it about yourself, for the same law holds. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewed mind releases the burden of being good or evil and rests in being. You are not the sum of yesterday's successes or failures. You are not the echo of a rumor. You are not the glow of a compliment. You are the place where the Father's life is showing forth, and so is the one before you, whether they know it or not. Knowledge is not the prerequisite for truth to be true. Do not confuse this recognition with passivity. It is a different sort of strength. It is strength without edge. It is courage without scorn. When the Christ is beheld, vengeance loses its oxygen. Try to set a fire in a room where air has been gently withdrawn. It flickers and dies of itself. In the same way, accusations that would normally find your resentment and grow fat find nothing to feed on. They shrink, or they pass through, or they boomerang back to be reconsidered by the one who sent them. And sometimes, let us be honest, they do not change at once. Then your peace is not hostage to their pace, because your peace is not loaned to their behavior. You live from the invisible, and the invisible keeps you steady while the visible learns. We can live a long, long time in an atmosphere of this recognition and still keep our feet on the ground, because the word must become flesh. It begins as a way of seeing and it ends as a way of walking. It begins as quiet in your heart and becomes an email with no barbs, a meeting with no traps, a boundary with no punishment attached. It is simple, and so it is. And whether or not the other is quick to lift their mask, you have lifted yours. You have refused the mask of avenger, the mask of injured saint, the mask of anxious protector, and you have stepped into your own name, child of God. From there, all the angels we have spoken of know where to find you, and they will go before you to do the works. Now, when you have stood in that pause and yielded the lead, do not be surprised that the first movement is small. The word becomes flesh by way of single steps, not fireworks. Out of the stillness, a nudge appears. It is not a plan. It is a word to your feet. Wait until noon. Delete the last paragraph. Offer one clean line of clarification. Ask for a listening meeting, 15 minutes, not an hour. Or do nothing today and look again in the morning. You will recognize it because it asks nothing of your pride. It does not feed your case. It is quiet. It is plain. It is free of heat. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, not a floodlight unto the culprits. Let the lamp be enough. Then see how providence takes up the thread. You delay the email, and at 10:30, a colleague forwards a version of the report you had not seen, with a footnote that untangles the attribution. You make the simple call, I'd like to understand how this line was entered, and a neutral administrator notices a timestamp that changes the story without naming a villain. You request a listening meeting, and the one who had been taut as a wire steps in with a softer face, because something else has happened in their morning that you did not command and could not have engineered. Or you say nothing, and before you can speak, the supervisor opens the meeting with, I want to clarify the chain here so we don't misplace responsibility. And the chain lays itself out like a straight path without your hammer. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. He shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Note what is brought forth, not the other's shame as a trophy, but your right placement in the order of things. I have seen the timing reset itself in ways that were almost playful. A meeting moved from 10 to 2 so that a missing witness could be present. An email that failed to send while you were hot and when retyped in the afternoon came out with the burrs removed. A document you thought lost surfacing as an autosave that kept just the sentence you needed. You did not cause these. You consented to them by refusing to run ahead with your sword drawn. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. How does God go before? As angels, as functions of consciousness, as order and restraint and recall and right place, right time. The going before shows itself in these natural earthy ways so that you can keep your feet on the ground and still say without superstition, this is the presence doing the works. When truth appears, it often prefers neutral channels. It is kinder that way. The rumor does not have to be crushed under your heel. It can evaporate on a warm wind. A compliance system flags an inconsistency. A peer who had been silent remembers a conversation and simply says, "I think we crossed wires," and the room exhales. The one who shaded the story may soften, or they may not. In either case, the atmosphere loses its charge because you withdrew your judgment from the person and placed it with God. Judge not according to the appearance. You did not manipulate. You recognized. You did not incant. You consented. You did not plot. You obeyed the next right step. And it is important to say again, because we are not dealing in fairy tales. Sometimes the straightening includes your firm. No, your record kept, your boundary set, your request for correction made. But notice the difference. When the word comes out of stillness, a corrected note is issued without sarcasm. A performance review, which you feared would carry the stain, arrives with fairness in its paragraphs and a path for growth that does not punish. A strained relationship does not leap into intimacy overnight, but it moves from brittle to workable. Trust is not flung back into your lap with fanfare, but it is rebuilt as a plank, then another, and you walk on those planks without fear because they were cut from quiet trees. Practical writing, this is what we are after. Letters amended, files updated, lines redrawn, tones changed. The word becoming flesh in pixels and signatures and calendars. If you wish to watch it at home for confirmation, try it in the smaller rooms. In the kitchen, where a child's excuse could draw your lecture, pause and say within, "Father," then ask a question instead of making a speech. And the missing piece appears in the child's own words. No manipulation, only an atmosphere change. Or in the neighborhood, where a parking space has become a symbol of turf, take the stillness into the sidewalk and greet without commentary. The next day, the cars park straighter and the tone is different. You could have won that argument yesterday at the price of tomorrow's peace. Presence won it for you at no one's expense. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. You may ask, how can I tell if it is presence or just my passivity? By fruit. Presence translates into timing, guidance, and provision. It brings a practical harmony that requires no story to justify it. Provision? Yes, sometimes a needed resource appears. A schedule shifts to accommodate what seemed impossible, or a person you had not thought to ask calls you with exactly the line you needed. Guidance? The one-step word is clear enough to obey without debate. Timing? Doors open when you arrive and close when you would have harmed yourself by entering. These are not the rewards of a clever mind. They are the signatures of a government, not your own. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps, and yet your steps are directed. Keep a quiet record if you like, not to boast, but to train trust. Write down the hour you paused and what followed. You will see a pattern as dependable as sunrise. When you refused to fasten a mask to a face and withheld the prayer for payback, crookedness loosened. When you ran ahead with heat, even a right point felt wrong in the mouth and complicated the day. We are learning spiritual arithmetic. Subtraction before addition. Subtract judgment. Subtract urgency. Subtract the need to win. Then add the one word you are given. The sum is harmony not achieve but receive. And if, in some cases, the form of harmony is not a reunion but a clean separation, do not be troubled. Love protects by establishing order. Order sometimes means two people working on separate projects with mutual respect rather than on one project with constant friction. If the presence goes before, and that is the shape of straightness, peace will attend it. You will know by the absence of residue. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. Not the thrill of triumph, the keeping peace. So watch now, gently. You have paused. You have beheld a person without qualities. You have let the atmosphere within become simple. Let the presence go before you. Then enter the meeting. Answer the email. Make the call. You will find again and again that what needed saying is said, what needed finding is found, what needed delaying is delayed, and what needed ending is ended. Straight lines appear where you would only see knots. The word has become flesh, not by your effort, but by your consent. And having tasted this once, you will not be so quick to trade it for the old fire. You will prefer the invisible adjustment that ripens into visible harmony, because it bears no sting, leaves no ash, and makes God's government credible in your Tuesday. Let us be plain about this next movement, because many have confused mercy with mush and non-judgment with a lack of backbone. Love is not a doormat. Love is a doorway, and a doorway has a frame. Do all things decently and in order. Non-judgment does not dissolve order. It is the atmosphere in which order can be established without poison. After the pause, after you have refused to fasten a mask on your neighbor or on yourself, you may well be led to set a boundary. Do not be surprised at that. Be grateful. Protection is not punishment. It is the shepherd's rod and staff. They comfort me. Why do they comfort? Because they keep the flock from tumbling over the cliff. So it is with clean boundaries. They keep the work, the home, the friendship from tipping into chaos. They are neither good nor evil. They are instruments of order when guided by presence. How, then, do boundaries look when they are not soaked in vengeance? They look like facts without adjectives. They look like timelines without innuendo. They look like yay, yay, nay, nay. They look like requests to use proper channels, mediation, a supervisor, a review of procedure, because we render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, not to enthrone Caesar, but to let spiritual government translate into administrative order. Someone will say, but isn't that just human machinery? Yes. And where else shall the word become flesh except in the machinery of the day? We can live a long time in an atmosphere of meditation and keep our feet on the ground, and on the ground there are forms to fill and rooms to schedule. The difference is this. You enter those forms and rooms without venom. You sign your name without the secret desire to destroy. You speak your word without editorializing the other's motives. This is love protecting by establishing order. Consider the gospel rhythm we have already touched. Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Notice the two parts. The first removes heat. The second establishes direction. Without condemnation, conduct is addressed. Without a spear, a line is drawn. In your office, that may sound like, I won't be able to accept responsibility for that error. Here are the records showing the path of the decision. Not a stab, not a smear, just order. Or it may sound like, for future changes, please include me on the distribution per hour policy. Here is the policy language. Not a trap, a path. You request a mediated conversation. You bring a witness, not as a threat, but as a stabilizer. You keep minutes. You ask questions that clarify, not questions designed to corner. The wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, easily entreated. And so it is. Pure does not mean sugary. It means unalloyed by the desire to harm. Let consequences, when they come, be administrative and not vindictive. If a project is reassigned, let it be because order requires it, not because you have secretly thrilled to the other's embarrassment. If repayment is due, let it be according to the policy both of you agreed to when you joined the work, not according to the fever in your chest. If a separation must occur, let it be with dignity, benefits, honored, references, factual, blame withheld. Vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord. Leave repayment to the divine law that is already written into the warp and weft of being. Our task is to keep the channels clear, so that justice in spirit translates as order in the visible, no more, no less. What if the other refuses the boundary? Then your boundary becomes visible as a simple no. You do not need to teach them a lesson. You need only not participate in disorder. Decline the meeting that has no chair and no agenda. Decline the after-hours message thread that breeds confusion. Decline the request that violates the agreement. You are not punishing. You are protecting the field in which you and all concerned can thrive. Be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. And then, when speech is due, let it be a narrow beam. Dates, documents, decisions, no adjectives about character, no history lessons about last winter's slight, neither good nor evil facts or facts. Presence uses them as a carpenter uses a plumb line. There will be times when the straightening requires you to name harm plainly. Do so. Call a false entry false. Call a breach a breach. This is not unkindness. This is removing fog so that no one stumbles. But keep your interior free of the courtroom's thrill. Respect all parties. Speak to the person across from you as one for whom Christ died, if that language comforts you, or simply as one in whom the same life that constitutes you is trying to come through. Why callest thou me good? None is good save one, that is, God. Take your hands off their soul and place them on the documents. In that posture, you discover a curious authority. Your word carries weight because it is not trying to crush. Your silence, when necessary, carries weight because it is not pouting. Your boundary holds because it is not a fence of fear, but a line of order. Measure your fidelity, not by whether their face falls, but by whether your own heart remains quiet while your feet are steady. Inner peace and outer right action, that is our gauge. If you come away buzzing with triumph because someone was exposed, check the atmosphere. Revenge may have slipped incense into the room. If you come away heavy because you did not get to deliver your closing argument and hear the gavel, check again. You may have spared yourself the grief of being your own executioner. The wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God, but clarity does. Consistency does. The simple keeping of your own word does. Do not wait for their humiliation to tell you you've done right. Look for the evenness of your breath and the clean, practical next step that presents itself without drama. You may find that the angels we spoke of, functions of consciousness, work particularly quickly in this atmosphere. An email that would have spun into accusations lands as a brief correction and moves on. A policy that had been ignored is suddenly enforced, not selectively, but for all. And the room breathes. A leader who had been distracted takes their rightful place, and their mere presence cools the temperature. Or the opposite. A role that had been propped up by charm, collapses of itself when no one feeds it fear or flattery. You did not make this happen by force. You made room for it by order. The Lord, He it is that doth go before thee. He goes before you into the meeting, and He also goes before you into the hallway after the meeting, so that even the small interactions are governed by the same presence that drew the line. Do not be afraid that love will make you soft. Be afraid only of mistaking heat for strength. Strength in spirit is cool, and because it is cool, it can hold shape. Boundaries so set will not need constant policing, because they are not reactions. They are placements. They do not wobble with mood or tilt with rumor. And if, at any point, you feel the heat returning, if punishment begins to dress itself in the robes of protection, stop short, turn within, and allow the rod and the staff to be given you again from the same hand. Love protects by establishing order, not by inflicting pain. When you live in that sentence, the word becomes flesh, as safety for all, as clarity without sting, as firm yes and clean no. Then even those who once pushed against your line will know, perhaps without words, that the line was for them as much as for you, and they will be safer inside it than they would ever have been outside. Let us widen the circle now, and let the same stillness breathe through our rooms and our roads. We are not changing customs. We are changing atmosphere. Before you begin the meeting, before you pass the bread, let there be 15 seconds of turning within. Not a speech, not a moral, not even a prayer about outcomes, only a shared consent. Father, thou doest the works. Then one more sentence, and let it be plain English. You're not being judged in this room. Say it as fact, not as threat, not as promise. Make it the ethic of the table, the ethic of the staff meeting, the ethic of the school hallway. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. In what name? Not the name of revenge, not the name of excellence as pressure, not the name of groupthink, but the name of presence. Let the presence be the host. Watch what occurs when judgment is excused from its self-appointed chair. Shoulders drop, the air thick with opinions clears. The child who had been bracing for the post-mortem relaxes enough to tell the truth. The colleague who talks to keep from being found out remembers it is safe to be simple. Love thinketh no evil. It is not suspicious. It does not keep score. It is not naive. It is free. Say, without ceremony, we are here to find order, not to find culprits. Neither good nor evil in the person. Facts, yes. Order, yes. Condemnation, no. And so it is. People who have been living as if a verdict were always about to fall discover the dignity of being persons without qualities, and in that discovery they begin to act with a stability you cannot wring from them by pressure. Begin at home, where we are most tempted to manage and to mold. At the meal, place the phones in a basket if you like, but more than that, place the judgments there. Let there be a real pause. Be still and know that I am God. Then speak sparingly and listen widely. If a sharp memory of the day comes to your lips, taste it before you serve it. If it is meant for correction, let it be a clean line without sarcasm. If it is meant only to soothe your ego, let it dissolve. You will find that the quarrel you expected to referee has no air to breathe and dies out. A teenager ventures a sentence you have been longing to hear for months, not because you extracted it, but because the room did not demand the mask. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts, and let it rule the table also. Carry the same ethic to the team. As you settle into chairs, say it again. You're not being judged in this room. Not to excuse sloppiness, but to locate value in the invisible source rather than in performance. Neither do I condemn thee is not a shrug. It is a platform from which go and sin no more has traction. In that field, angels, which is to say, functions of consciousness, begin to do their simple work. The angel of right words, a heated presentation, loses its barbs and keeps its data. The angel of right seats, two people who have clashed, take places with a mediator, minding the flow, without choreography, as if chairs chose themselves. The angel of right timing, the difficult topic which would have sparked fireworks at the top of the hour, is raised after the coffee break when haste has cooled. The angel of translation, what was always misheard as accusation is received as information. You cannot order these angels about. You can release them by refusing to enthrone judgment. Do not be surprised if even animals register the change. They are honest barometers. A dog that has learned to defend its fence calms when you approach without broadcasting fear or superiority. A skittish cat, invisible for days, takes up its watch in the doorway when the house ceases to vibrate with fault-finding. This is not magic. This is atmosphere. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps, and it is not in man that sits to direct another's posture. Let the government be upon his shoulder, and watch how bodies take their cues from a room where no one is on trial. And on the street, try this experiment in the next small friction. Do not write the manifesto to the neighborhood chat at midnight. In the morning, step onto the sidewalk and take 15 seconds of inner stillness, eyes open, feet on the ground. Father, then greet without commentary. I have seen loud music drop without a word, a parking habit correct itself without a note, a broom appear to clear the storm drain you were going to report. Endeavoring to keep the unity of the spirit in the bond of peace produces this kind of prosaic fruit: tidier curbs, kinder nods, fewer horns. Unity of spirit does not mean sameness of taste. It means consent to one presence governing our common life. Someone will ask, but won't this be abused? Not when you couple mercy with order. Let all things be done decently and in order. Establish boundaries out of love, not out of heat. State the policy, keep the record, post the hours, but do it in a room where no one is under sentence. You will find compliance rises, not because people fear penalties, but because they sense they are being trusted to live from their root. Mercy rejoiceth against judgment. This is not softness. It is strength that does not need a gavel. Now, a word about testimony. Let it be offered as confirmation, not as spectacle. When a team finds that meetings finish on time without cutting the necessary corners, when a family notices the late-night headaches have ceased, when a neighborhood goes a month without the skirmish it had come to expect, say so to each other, not to prove a point, not to recruit, but to train trust. Quietly record the hour you paused and what followed. He shall bring it to pass. Let the order speak. If it is presence, it will not require a horn to be believed. It will stand in the minutes and in the milk bill, in the calendar, and in the way your heart no longer races when a certain name appears on your screen. Do not make a liturgy of this. Make it an atmosphere. No one praised, no one condemned. When praise inflates the ego, it makes the fall more likely. When condemnation shrinks the soul, it makes rebellion more likely. Withdraw both. and you will find people expanding into their real size. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. That goodness is invisible until it takes a chair and speaks in a calm voice, until it posts the agenda without hidden barbs, until it washes the dishes as if no one were keeping score. Then the word becomes flesh not only in your Tuesday, but in our Tuesday homes, teams, and streets, finding their straightness under a government not our own. Let the presence go before us collectively, and we will discover what it is to be governed by mercy that knows how to keep order. Now, having learned to place a line without a spear behind it, we come to the quiet work of keeping the channel clear, because the mind is clever and will put on holiness the way an actor puts on a costume. The atmosphere you have cultivated can be clouded by little drafts of self-will that feel like prayer. It is not cause for alarm. It is cause for honesty. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. We are not trying to be good. We are consenting to be simple. Purity of motive, humble. Outcome-free listening keeps the presence free to go before you and make the crooked places straight. And it keeps you from turning even the stillness into a tool. One of the common traps is using silence to get your way. It looks like restraint, sounds like wisdom, and sometimes carries a faint perfume of martyrdom. But if your quiet is designed to make another squirm, it is not stillness, it is leverage with a halo. Be still and know that I am God is not a technique for tightening a room until someone confesses. It is a release of pressure altogether. Correction here is simple and strong. Relinquish outcomes. If you notice yourself silently staging a scene, stop short and turn within. Say, if it helps, nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. Then accept whatever straightening looks like. It may confirm your view, or it may not. It may vindicate you visibly, or it may untie the knot in a way that never even mentions your name. Can you bear that? If you can, you will find your quiet turning from a weapon into a window, and through that window the light will do work. None of our staging could have managed. Another trap is passivity as piety. We here take no thought, and the lazy part of us takes it as license to do nothing while calling the delay waiting on the Lord. But the Lord you are waiting on is often waiting on you to take the one simple step that he has already whispered. Scripture is not shy about this. Whatsoever he saith unto you, do it. Be doers of the word, and not hearers only. When the inner nudge comes, send the 2 sentences. Schedule the 15 minutes. Walk across the hall. Act promptly. Promptly does not mean frantically. It means without the stall of second guessing. You will recognize the difference by the absence of heat. The word is a lamp unto your feet, and feet are for walking. Watch what happens when you spare the angels, the functions of consciousness, the burden of dragging a willing heart. The timing keeps pace with you, and what would have taken weeks in argument is accomplished in moments of obedience. Rise, take up thy bed, and walk is not harsh. It is mercy to the part of you that would lie in the name of holy waiting. Then there is the soft, superior glow that comes when you begin to see things straighten and you privately narrate, see how spiritual sight works, as if you were the artisan of harmony. That glow is only another mask. We put it down with the master's own sentence. I, my own self, can do nothing. And again, why callest thou me good? None is good, save one, that is God. Who makes you to differ? And what have you that you did not receive? The correction is to return to being a witness, not a cause. Neither good nor evil in you as person, Neither good nor evil in the other is person. The good is invisible and it constitutes being. When you feel that glow begin to rise, answer it with a bow inside, no theatrics, just the factual acknowledgement. God is the doer of the works. This bow frees you from the awful loneliness of being your own source, and it keeps the line between you and your neighbor clean of comparison. A fourth trap is miracle scorekeeping. The mind, once it notices fruitage, loves to count. 3 providences this week, 5 last week. Their department had none. And soon we have a ledger where there should be a thanksgiving. Correction? Gratitude without comparison and without show. Rejoice not that the spirits are subject unto you, but rather rejoice because your names are written in heaven. If you are keeping a record to train trust, keep it quietly, and let not your left hand know what your right hand doeth. If you find yourself turning fruitage into a testimony designed to win an argument or to humble a neighbor, set the pen down. Say thank you, simply. Share only when sharing will build another's courage rather than your brand. The presence is shy of applause and generous with supply. Do not hire it as your publicist. Underneath all these corrections is the steady re-anchoring in one universe, not 2. We are not moving between a spiritual world for Sundays and a human world for Tuesdays. We are learning to see the one world rightly under government. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. In him we live and move and have our being. Not 2 different worlds, but, as I have said, 2 different concepts of the same universe. When you withdraw judgment from appearances, when you refuse manipulation, when you act on the lamplit step and decline to imagine yourself the artisan, the same presence that meets you in prayer, meets you at the copier and in the kitchen. The word must become flesh, or the word has no proof in your day. Make for yourself a small inward rubric, not as a law, but as a kindness. When heat appears and tactics whisper, pause and ask 4 questions. Am I being silent to surrender or silent to steer? Am I delaying as reverence or delaying to avoid a clean obedience? Am I feeling quietly grateful or secretly taller than my brother? Am I treasuring what God has done or tallying it to build a case? If the answer leans towards steering, avoiding, towering, or tallying, correct course immediately. How? The same way we always do. Stop short and turn within. Father, speak thy word. Relinquish the shape. Listen for the next inch. Then take it, and let the rest be arranged by the presence that goes before you. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding, and he shall direct thy paths. You will discover that these small corrections are not fussy. They are freeing. They pull the burrs off your words and the hooks out of your actions. They cool you without making you tepid. They place you where you belong, as one through whom order may come, not as one who must engineer it. And from that place the angels order, restraint, recall, right place, right time, move without obstruction. The channel remains clear. The atmosphere remains simple. The straightening proceeds at its own wise pace and in its own wise forms. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. And so it is. Let us make this simple enough to live with. Because truth that cannot be lived before breakfast is not yet truth to us. We have spoken of atmosphere and order. Now we let it become a rhythm. In the morning, before your stories have had time to gather, put your feet on the floor and consent. 1 sentence is enough. Father, thou doest the works. Then one more if you like. I, my own self, can do nothing. Not a mood, not a vow, just consent. You are not setting the world right. You are stepping out of the chair where you have been pretending to sit as judge and executioner. This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Why rejoice? Because today is not a problem to be solved, but a presence to be revealed. Let that be your first act. Keep some pocket verses within reach, not as charms, but as tuning forks you can strike in the noise. Take no thought for your life when the calendar begins to crowd you. All that the Father hath is mine, when lack whispers a story of scramble. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. When a name on your screen tightens your chest, the Lord will perfect that which concerneth me. When you feel you must control what is not yours to control, these are not demands made of God. They are reminders that God is already God. Speak them lightly. Let them call you back to the center where vengeance has no oxygen. Then the day begins, and with it the small doors through which harmony prefers to enter. Before you send an email, 15 seconds. Before you dial a number, 15 seconds. Before you step through a doorway, 15 seconds. Eyes open, feet on the ground. Father, no script, no plan to win, only a brief refusal to enthrone judgment. In that pause, the angels we have named functions of consciousness find space to go before you. The angel of timing moves a meeting to the hour when it can be calm. The angel of recall brings to mind a document you would have missed. The angel of restraint removes a sentence that would have set the room on fire. They are neither good nor evil in themselves. They are simple channels of order when you are not trying to be the engineer of outcomes. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet. A lamp, not a floodlight, enough for the next step. Make noon a hinge. If the morning has swept you into heat, stop short and call yourself back. Walk once around the block or once around your own chair and say softly, judge not according to the appearance. If you have already spoken too quickly, let the same presence give you the humility to amend your word without drama. There is no shame in correction when you are not trying to be somebody. Be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. And so it is. Midday is a mercy, a second morning, a second consent. In the evening, release the day from your hands. Not a trial, not a postmortem, an altar. Lay down the names that gathered heat around them. Place the events, one by one, into the same presence that went before you. If a sting remains, say, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, and mean only that you are unwilling to carry anyone's account in your private ledger. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. This is not piety, it is hygiene. Do not take tomorrow's peace to bed with today's indictments tied around it. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. If there is an amending note to write, write it simply. If there is nothing to do, do nothing, and sleep under a government not your own. Make a plain pledge and keep it close. In every crooked place today, I will turn within first. Say it now, softly. In the meeting room, turn within first. In the kitchen, turn within first. On the sidewalk, turn within first. No manipulation. No bargain. Only this. I will not start the engine of payback. I will not pray that someone get what I have decided they deserve. I will stand still long enough for the one who goes before me to take one step into visibility. I would give you an experiment for the next 24 hours. Choose one live conflict, the one you thought of, while we have been speaking. Do not choose 10. Choose one. Put its name, or simply its feeling, into the morning consent. Through the day, set 3 deliberate pauses at its touch points. Before you compose, before you confront, before you rehearse your case alone, in each pause, withdraw qualities from the person, behold a person without qualities, and let their identity rest where yours rests in the invisible. Carry your pocket verse for this one. The Lord, He it is that doth go before thee. Then watch not with superstition, but with expectation born of practice for quiet alignments, a neutral channel opening, a fact surfacing without a fight, a tone softening, or a boundary when it appears, bearing the cool of order and not the heat of punishment. Note the hour you paused and what followed, not to score a miracle, but to train trust. By their fruits ye shall know them. If nothing seems to move today, do not force the fruit. You are not in charge of ripening. You are in charge of atmosphere. Sometimes the first day's harvest is only the absence of a fresh wound, the non-sent email, the conversation not had in heat. That is fruit enough to justify the practice. Often, though, you will find the lamp lighting the next stone and the next, until the path that yesterday looked like a knot looks today like a straight line you did not lay. Then you will say, with your feet still on the ground and without the need to advertise, this is the presence doing the works. We close with gratitude because gratitude is the climate in which this rhythm breathes, not gratitude for victories, gratitude for governance, for a government that will carry you through the grocery line and through the grievance process with the same steadiness. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. Let it keep them tonight. Let the word become flesh tomorrow, in the way you write a subject line, in the way you look up when someone enters the room, in the way your no holds because it is given without sting, and your yes holds because it is given without fear. Go now not to try, but to consent. Turn within first. Let the presence go before you, and as you walk, understand that straightening is not an exception to your life. It is the ordinary way your life unfolds when you are not busy being the engineer. Be still and know that I am God. Thank you.